Hey everybody, we'd like to welcome you all to the fourth episode of the podcast, which is originally supposed to be episode 3. Last time we were out here at Cahokia Mounds was pretty doggone windy. But as always, welcome to the podcast, the collaboration with the Veritas Project and investigator Todd, founder of the Veritas Project, Robert Curtis.
Good morning.
And I'm investigator Todd Boyer. And we'd like to welcome y'all to Mound 72 of Cahokia Mounds, about 5 minutes outside of St. Louis. It is considered one of the lost civilizations.
It's a heritage site for Native Americans.
So in this area, this wasn't really even considered a site until the 80s.
Yeah.
And there was actually homes that were out here on the site in these mounds that the Missouri River, or Mississippi River people, had built out here. And there was literally houses backed up to these 30-foot tall mounds. And in some cases, the Monk's Mound, which is the largest mound, it's two-tiered, and someone actually had a house on the first tier.
Yeah.
So in the 80s, they came through and they pulled all the houses out, and
they relocated some of them down to Fairmont City. They added an extra street down there with people who could afford to have their house moved. But most people just took the money and ran, or they moved to State Park Place, and then the houses were just bulldozed. They just cleared the whole thing out. We'll show you later. There's still, if you know where to look, you can still see the roads and the ditches and where the power poles used to be from the neighborhood that was over there. But yeah, this is the Grand Plaza of the Mississippi River culture. The Cahokians, this was their city, and they built a stockade around the entire perimeter. There was I don't even know if it says,
logs,
but it was logs. It was very tall, like 12-foot tall. What do they call it, palisade, or all the way around the entire place.
And the population was huge. I mean, from where we are to the far side is, I'm going to say that's at least a half mile to the far side. So we're talking, this was probably all heavily forested at the time, and they probably used every tree, because what you guys can't see behind your perspective is how tight the forest is.
Yeah.
So they came through and they knocked out all the trees so they could make their city. And we are actually at Mound 72 here, which actually consisted of 3 smaller mounds that they kind of built a mound over the top of.
They covered the whole thing up.
But this was their charnel house and their burial sites, and they had some really interesting burials going on over here. They have one of the burials is 4 gentlemen. Their arms are interlocked. They're missing their heads and their hands. So
yeah, there's, what did it say? 20,000 marine shell beads were found here.
And the beads were from the Gulf of Mexico.
From the Gulf of Mexico, right. So this was a trade hub for Native Americans. Inside the building, they talk about how there were jade beads found on this site that come from Mexico.
So yeah, this is actually a really great place to come to. Like I said, it's just a few minutes outside of St. Louis. So if you're in the area, come out here and check it out. I mean, if you're going through St. Louis, from downtown, it's 6 minutes, 7 minutes tops. Minutes. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I got off the track again. I have a habit of that. So you were talking about the 20,000 beads they found, but they also found a copper staff that came from up by the Great Lakes.
Right.
So this wasn't just a local community. This was a big trade hub where people came from everywhere, and they even figured 20 to 30% of the bodies found in this mound behind us here were from people not of the area.
Right.
Now another one of those, which is, I'll show you guys right here. They have a picture of this here. It is Bob's going to grab the camera here.
Grab the camera so we can show you.
So they had 53 women buried in one pit, double stacked in one of the pits there. So that just shows you, just kind of what they did. And it seems like each one of the 3 different mounds were for people of 3 different sociological statuses in the community. Now they have found other men and women buried in this area, but the whole thing, and they believe that there was another log henge, which we'll get into later because we're going to come over to log henge, that is associated with this area. It's kind of like a Stonehenge, but they did it out of big timbers.
Yeah, it's a, what they call it, astrolabe. It's like a calendar, seasonal calendar. So they could tell the seasons, and they had markings on it for crop rotations and everything. It's really neat. Give you an idea of what we're talking about. The University of Wisconsin excavated part of this mound, and that's where it comes from. But they didn't do the whole thing because they wanted to retain the shape of it. You can see how it's kind of like a dome. They didn't excavate the entire mound, so that way they could keep the integrity of it. So maybe at some point someone will come and finish their excavation.
So as you can, I'll have Bob show up over here. So this was the setup of the 4 gentlemen with the missing heads and missing hands. And then right next to them was that burial with the 53 women double stacked in there. And then they have also found, like down in this area, just another mass grave. Just, 39 bodies.
14 on top of that.
So, yep. So it's just layered in here. So, interesting place to see. Come out, check it out. We're going to move on, and we will catch you in a little bit.
Yeah, here comes a B-roll of us walking down this little trail right here. So enjoy the song.
Mama said I ain't right, got a bad streak a mile long. Oh, my soul is black as night, what feels right is always wrong. Whoa, I'm like a hard, hard rain. Ain't no hero, honey, no angel face. Oh, I ain't no saint. Oh, I'm cold as fate. I'm sharp as steel. I slice you through. Too numb to feel, too hard to bruise. Oh, I ain't no saint. Mama said, honey child, you walk a lonely mile with your serpent tongue, your diamond eyes, and blood dripping from your smile. Oh, you're like a hard, hard rain. Oh, I ain't no saint. Oh, I'm cold as fate. I'm sharp as steel. I slice you through. Too numb to feel, too hard to bruise. Oh, I ain't no saint.
So this is a section of the stockade we were talking about. It's fallen into disrepair in the last 20 years or so, but originally this was a perfect representation of what the stockade looked like. It went, they were almost connected side to side. You can see how tight it is right here. Originally, this entire section was like that, but over the years, the termites have gotten into the foundations, and it's carpenter ants and everything, so it's kind of in disrepair. But this gives you an idea of what it looked like. This is built on the location of the original wall in this part right here, and it encircled this entire area. So the whole Cahokian village here was encircled by this stockade of these trees.
And for perspective, I'm 6'7", so it just shows you how high these walls actually were to keep, you know, any enemies or
Right.
anybody that wanted to do some bad deeds, keep them at bay.
Yeah, and you can see, as close as these are, you know, even in this area, you could still fire arrows through there. But a person couldn't pass through here, you know. You wouldn't be able to walk through there. So
They could break this one down.
yeah, this section here, you can see some of it's even fallen off.
And you see how the end here is black and charred? Actually, burning the ends of the logs make them harder.
Right.
So they would burn both ends to keep it harder and keep it from rotting.
And of course, you know, because we're paranormal people, one of the urban legends of this is because they thought that it would keep out the Bigfoot, the big feet from this area. You know, they built this stockade, but you know, you can take that for what it's worth. Were they keeping out monsters or were they keeping out marauders? Either way, this is what they built this all the way around this entire location. And we were talking about how dense the woods are. You can kind of get a sense of that right here. You can only see about, what, maybe 20 yards into the woods in any direction.
And it's already fall, so they're starting to lose some leaves already. So
Right.
midsummer, you wouldn't be able to see nearly that far.
All right, on to the next one.
Okay, we're just outside the museum, and what we're actually looking at here is they've drawn in where buildings used to be in this area after they excavated it, and each of the lines obviously is a wall or a different building from each time period. And I'm up high here shooting this video to show you guys, and I'm gonna hand the camera off to Bob, and he's gonna go through the time periods and what all the colors mean.
All right, here you can see when they started building the interpretive center. That's what this building is here. Really nice. Back in 1988, they excavated for 2 years in this area. In the shadow of my head. And you can read there. There's 80 houses and storage buildings that were located here. Once you read what it says there. And all these different, the different colors on the floor here are represented by different timelines. So you can see the earliest is the red, blue, yellow, and then the green. So the red over there and over here, and you see the blue over there, way over there. There's yellow right here, way over there, and then the green parts. And that shows you the represented here, green, red, and then here's a picture of those of this interpretive center is this layout here, and then this little spot here is what we're talking about. You can see the different over the years how it was utilized for different purposes. But I always find it comedic that people come here and they always think that this is a skate park. They're always like, oh, did they build a skate park here? I'm like, no, this is a the docents from this building, they come out and they have a little talk where they make the kids stand inside of the different houses and they tell you which period all this stuff is from. So it's a little thing they do for the kids to come out here and give them an idea of what the size of these houses were located here. You can see the Birdman off in the distance over there. I don't know if I can zoom in on it from here. There he is. The Cahokia Birdman. All right.
I know you don't respect anything that we have left, so don't act like you do. Just like it was before, we're not talking anymore, and I can't keep repeating the same mistakes, the same deflating story all over again. You're no good for me. We can't be the us that I wanted us to be. You're no good for me. We can't be the us that I wanted us to be. You say you just need time, but you don't pay any mind to the love I need now. So sorry doesn't work if you never meant a word of it. Stop. We keep making the same mistakes, the same deflating story all over again. You're no good for me. We can't be the us that I wanted us to be. You're no good for me. We can't be the us that I wanted us to be. No, you're no good. You're no good. You're no good for me. We can't be the us that I wanted us to be. No.
Alrighty, so we're in front of the visitor center. They have these beautiful doors behind us here with the birds and the Cahokia Mounds represented. And something that we hadn't talked about yet, but you did see earlier when we showed the drawings on the ground out there. This is a civilization that was only here about 200 years.
Right.
It built up to thousands of people and disappeared in a 200-year span. There's some speculation as to why they vanished, but no real hard evidence of why they disappeared. Some people say they went off to the local Indian tribes in the area.
They were absorbed into
Some people say they died off. There's a lot of speculation of what happened to the civilization.
Yeah, but there's no. They know from the burials here the DNA of the people that lived in this region, and there's none of that DNA carries over into the Blackfoot Indians up north or down south to the further Mississippi River culture. There's none of this period's this area's DNA found in the DNA of the tribes near here, and that's 20 to 50,000 people lived here, and where did they go? There would be a mass burial somewhere.
Right. That's a large amount, and even Mound 72, you're only talking about a couple hundred bodies. you know, and they can't find any graves. So did they burn them? Did, you know?
They would have found the bone fragments.
That's true. That is
true. They would
true.
have found a big burn pit or something. Like the prevailing theory is that there was a disease that came through here from the trade, you know, because they would trade with people, other tribes, and one of the other tribes brought a disease here and it killed them all off. But then where did they go? You know, where did the bodies go?
Yeah, where are the survivors? Where did
Right.
they go to? I
Right.
mean, you know, the obvious choice, unless they took their trade routes maybe all the way down to Mexico and disappeared into the Mexican
Right.
area. You know, I mean, because like we said before, they had beads from the Gulf of Mexico, 20,000 just at Mound 72. So, you know, maybe they just followed one of their trade routes out and
They could have. Why would they relocate their whole culture? And none of the culture that's from here, the mound builders, translates anywhere else. You know, the other tribes didn't
Right.
build mounds; they were more nomadic people in the plains. So, and we know from studying the paranormal aspect of it is that the shape of these mounds matches the Aztec structures down there. They're made out of stone, but if you know this area, you're not mining for stone here. This is clay, you know. So
Right.
if you were going to build something around here, you could build pots, you know, and stuff like that, but not you know, stone structures. You're not going to build a pyramid here.
right.
There's nowhere to quarry that much rock to build it. You can build it out of gravel, I guess.
But yeah, if, over at Monk's Mound, which is the tallest mound, it's, you know, 2 sets of staircases to get to the top, multi-tiered. It still has that same look of all the other early age pyramids.
Yeah, the shape of
You
it.
know, the shape of it, and you know, so how do all these cultures all of a sudden start building pyramids that all look alike, using whatever they had around them to build the pyramids, whether it be, you know, dirt
Right.
here or, you know, stone somewhere else? You know, why did all these cultures build all these pyramids at the same time?
Yeah,
That's
it's-
kind of a,
The step pyramids in Mexico are the same shape as the Monk's Mound is. If you look at the Monk's Mound from the sky, it almost looks like a turtle, the way it's shaped, because there's the big mound and then there's the little offshoots on it. But you know, that's open to interpretation. You know.
right. So now the staff, you've told me stories about things the staff has seen.
Yeah, they report seeing Bigfoot like swamp ape, you know, skunk ape type creatures right behind us over here in the swampland. And they say that if you come out here at night, you'll hear them knocking on trees and making, you know,
World of
Bigfoot
cryptids.
noises. Yeah,
Everybody's got their cryptids, and it seems like every culture has their cryptids.
yeah,
You know, and for the people that don't understand that term, a cryptid is something that people believe is there but has never been proven.
Right.
Bigfoot, Mothman, that type of
Yeah.
scenario.
right.
So-
Any number. Every area of the United States has a different cryptid that lives there. You know, the skunk ape, what do they call it? The bog monsters. and
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra, right? Everything.
Yeah. So there's also a lot of sightings of shadows just hiding in the woods. You know, when it snows in here, they literally pick the snow up off the roads and then they go dump it further in the back.
Yeah.
And as they're doing that, you know, obviously the days are shorter, so they're working in a lot of darker areas and whatnot. But they're seeing groups of figures standing in the woods
Right.
as they're dumping the snow in the back of the area back towards the swamps.
Yeah, they would take a loader, and when they would plow the streets, they would scoop up the snow from up there and then dump it in the swamp. And the thought was, you know, when it melts, it just fills the swamp up, so it doesn't hurt anything. But when they would go back there with the loader and dump the snow into the swamp, they would see like people duck behind the trees from their lights, and there'd be hundreds of them hiding in the woods. So they became to realize it's just. They told me what they thought it was a trick of your eye, you know, how you see
Right.
out of your periphery, and then because they didn't want to admit that they were seeing like
Yeah,
shadow people
exactly.
in the woods, right? So
Exactly.
back in the late 70s, when I was little, there was a scientist from Wisconsin over here in the field doing a study on the ground, and he said that there was a high magnetism to this area because of a magma flow. There's a surface magma flow that runs right through here. And a lot of times, I know from my experience in Fairmont City, if you have an EMF meter in certain parts of our yard, it would peg out with magnetism because of that. Depending on what time of year it is and where the sun is, where that magnetism spikes because of that magma flow that runs right through here. So that could be a part of why they built all these structures on this site, was because of that magma flow.
Now, we touched on this earlier, but this was all city. He used to play on these mountains when he was a kid. He had friends that lived in this area.
Neighborhood.
You'll see during one of the panoramas, or you've already seen actually, one of the panoramas, you'll see the one house. They kept the one house there to use as a caretaker house, so the caretaker stays on site, and that's the one house left here. So this wasn't even protected area until 50 years ago.
Yeah, until the late 80s.
So not even 50 years ago, 35 years ago. So now it's all protected, and definitely come out and check it out if you're in the St. Louis area. It's a beautiful, come out here on a beautiful day. It's got a beautiful path for walking around. Come out, take a lot of pictures. It's definitely a beautiful area.
Yeah, if you like to see the fall leaves, the trail is wooded all the way around, so there's any number of different trees to see. We were just discussing that. It's just starting to turn. Right,
so.
just right now is that time of year when the trees are turning. So if you're one of those people that likes to see the fall leaves, this is a good site to do it.
So yeah, definitely come out here, check it out. Don't forget to check us out on all our other social medias. We're on TikTok and Twitch and all that other
Twitter,
good stuff, and X or whatever it's now, and
X's, yeah.
Rumble. So we're on all the socials. All mine is Investigator Todd, however it allowed me to spell it, either investigator.todd or investigator_Todd. You have
the Veritas Project is trademarked, so I have that everywhere. And then the email address is therealveritasproject@gmail.com.
And I am in investigator.todd.paranormal@gmail.com. We also have a phone number that we can put in the description. If you guys ever want to contact us, if you live in the St. Louis area, we'll come out and actually do a paranormal investigation for you if you think you're having issues. And don't call us if you're just, looking to get famous or whatever, because we're not famous, not by any stretch. But if you feel like you have legitimate haunting or something, we'll come out, we'll do an investigation for you and see if maybe we can help you figure out what's going on in your house.
Just leave a message.
Get that number?
On Scott's phone. It'll say Scott Merovingian. He's our manager of socials, all the socials. And his phone number is 618-514-1093. Leave him a message.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you join us again for episode 5. Let us know what you guys want to hear us talk about. We put up a poll last week. It's still up there. We're waiting for somebody to tell us, what we want to talk about. We run out of ideas. We're getting old. Our brains don't work like they used to. So
we know a lot of ghost stuff.
That's for sure. We could talk ghosts for hours and hours.
UFOs. So. I could talk for days about UFOs.
So we will see you guys next time, and thanks for watching. Yeah. And remember,
I don't remember.
Stay curious and find the truth.
There you go. Stay curious. Check your sources.
All right, we are out here at Woodhenge on the site where we talked earlier about the astrolabe that they created out here, and they've actually rebuilt it 5 times in the time period in 3 different locations. It was always built right in this area, and they have found where the bases of a lot of these other pillars were. And Bob, if you want to go ahead and show them what we're talking about here. So these pillars line up to different astrological events summer solstice, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, and so they had their own, basically this is a giant calendar is what this is. And like we said, they rebuilt it 5 times. The most intricate one actually had 60 logs used to mark the different days out of the calendar.
Right. You would stand, the priest would stand in the center pole and then look at the horizon, and then the sunrise would line up with where these outer poles are, and it would tell you what season you were in, and when to do your planting and harvesting, and everything was all based in this little wood hinge right here. Pretty advanced, you think, for people that had, you know, no written language. They had no communications with other tribes, and then they developed the basically a solar calendar.
200 years and gone.
Yeah, all at once too. There's no decline of the Cahokians. They were here, they were big, they were gone.
And this here behind us is mound number 44. And this was probably where the priest honestly lived, or whoever, was responsible to make sure this was maintained and kept up.
Right.
We would assume that's what the mound, because the mounds were ritualistic, but they were also the homes of the more important people in the civilization. So we would assume that whoever lived here was probably responsible for taking care of their calendar, basically.
Exactly.
So we were going to move on to the next spot, and we'll catch you there.
All right. See you in a bit.
All right, so we're out here kind of next to 44. The calendar is just right over here, and we want to really stress how big this place is, and it didn't really hit me until we were in this area. We are at least a good half a mile from Monk's Mound. You might be able to make out the people walking on the top of it over there, and just the how tall Monk's Mound is. That was the largest of the mounds, and actually one of the first settlers that came out here and put a house in this area, he actually put his house up on the very top of the mound up there.
Yeah.
So that would have been a fun walk home every day, or ride the horse up the hill, or
right. But there's natural air conditioning up there,
right,
with the breeze, so that's nice.
So we got to talking here as we were walking around, and you brought up something that I found absolutely amazing.
The disappearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the people that lived here just disappeared. There's no, like we said before, there was no record of them being absorbed into other tribes north and south of here. They just evaporated. And the people that came to settle this area, you know, the nomadic people of the time, found that all the stuff was still here. You know, like in their structures, their clothes were still there, their pots were still there, all of their tools were still leaning up against the buildings, like their winter
baskets still full of grain.
Yeah, the baskets still full of what was left of the grain. You know, 200 years, stuff had degraded, but it was still in there. It was just like someone had just, you know, flipped the switch, and they all just packed up and left wherever they went. You know, if a UFO came and took them, or whatever.
Maybe an earthquake during that time period. I mean, we are, you know, in high earthquake area.
Yeah.
I mean, we're well overdue for an earthquake here.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they had an earthquake and maybe took it as a sign. I mean, I'm just throwing out theories, because that's all anybody has at this point is just theories.
And what happened? Where'd they go? You know, they would have taken some of their culture with them when they relocated, but you don't see the Cahokia Birdman or any of their like logos or any of their rituals taken anywhere else. It's all from here and stayed here. They had like a lawn bowling type game that they played here, and it's only found here and in Mexico. So it's
which they did find some of those pins at 72 where we were.
And in the Grand Plaza closer to this side over here, there was actually a stadium for some sort of ball-based game that they would play. So it's unbelievable that all those people disappeared. overnight, and there's no record of them being anywhere else.
All right, well, we're going to move on to the next spot, and we'll catch you there.